Lee, what happened?
Well, I came upstate New York to visit with some friends, and I was actually getting ready to leave to Philadelphia, and I pulled into a little gas station in Cairo, and before I know it, a sheriff's deputy pulled up behind me and said something about my temporary Maryland tag being expired. I mean, I got out and I tried to explain to him that it didn't matter that it was expired. Then he asked me for a driver's license. I said, I don't have one, I don't need one. And then it got into the whole thing about needing a driver's license and a tag to be on the roads of New York. And I tried to explain to him that about the whole right to travel thing, but he didn't want to hear it. So ultimately, he issued two citations: one for unlicensed driver, as they call it, unlicensed operator, and registration violation, and impounded my property. And that's basically what happened.
And how long ago was this?
That happened March 15th of last year, 2024.
So we're going on 15, 16 months?
Yep, it'll be coming up on 2 years soon. I mean, you know, I was actually living out of that van. I mean, as far as society is concerned, I was homeless. But at least I did have a place to lay my head. I was actually able to travel to support myself. You know, I'm sort of a handyman. I do a bunch of little odds and ends, and I was able to, feed myself and not be a burden on society. I wasn't harming anyone, but once they grabbed that van, I mean, if it wasn't for the generosity of my friends I was visiting, I would be, who knows where I would be. I mean, probably in a homeless shelter or something. I mean, it's disgusting what's going on here.
So we're talking 15, 16 months ago.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yep.
And I presume that the impound yard or wherever your vehicle is, your property is, they're charging you each month or whatever for this.
JR Transmissions in Cairo. They're wanting $80 a day, they're telling me, for my property.
A day.
Yeah, a day.
So that's a substantial
That's like
amount of money.
what's that? That's like over, what's that, like $2,400 a month, 30 days in a month. 3 times 8 is 24 plus a 0. That's $2,400. They think they're going to get out of me for that van.
And so the obstacle is that the money that you don't want to pay, and also you don't have a license. They want you to show them a license
Right,
before they release the vehicle also, right?
Yeah, well, see, this is the whole crux of the thing. These people know here in Greene County, New York, they know that I knew the law, because it's Section 125 of the New York State Vehicle and Traffic Law, as it's called. There's actually an exclusion from the very things they gave a citation to me at Title 4 involves registration of vehicles, and Title 5 involves driver's license. Well, they gave me citations for both of those, but Section 125 actually gives you an exclusion from both of those requirements if you're not in transportation or for hire. If anyone wants to go to Section 125 of the New York State Vehicle and Traffic Law, you will see that they try to conceal the exclusion if you're not for hire by calling it other than for hire. But they know exactly what they're doing. So the very fact that they work so hard to conceal it really shows, it just verifies my argument that there was no requirement for me to have a driver's license or a proper registration on my car the day that I was pulled over. And that's why they dismissed both charges without letting me come into court. But now, to fix my little wagon, they decided instead of them trying to force me to get the tag and the license, they would let JR Transmissions, the impound agent, do it. Because I was told that without paying the $80 a day, plus bringing the license, the tag, and insurance and all those other things, when I come to pick it up, I'm not getting it.
So it's basically your position that unless you're involved in some commercial enterprise, if you're an Uber driver or a taxi cab driver, or if you're transporting commercial goods from point A to point B, driver's license and registration and all those other things simply aren't necessary, correct?
That is correct, and that's actually in federal law. If anyone wants to go to Statutes at Large number 49 at page 543, the way you look that up is 49 Stat 543, and then you go to section 203, and then go through there, and you'll go to subsection B9. It will basically show that unless you're engaged in transportation as a regular occupation or business, you are excluded from the provisions of the Act. And those provisions include the licensing, the registration, the insurance, the inspection, and so forth and so on. It doesn't mean that you get to go down the road and not pay attention to local regulations such as speeding and stop signs or lights and so forth, or school zones. They still have the right to regulate that stuff. You can't be a hazard to society. But as far as having to actually pull money out of your pocket in order to go down the road, that amounts to taxation on the use of your private property to go about the regular things you need to do to carry on with your life. You know, go to the store to get a gallon of milk, take your babies to school, or go to church. I mean, those are all things that you have to do, and those are actually supposed to be a matter of right, not of privilege.
Just to play devil's advocate here, Lee, what would be your argument if a particular municipality was to say, oh, we want to license you and take a driving test, both in writing and a road test, so to demonstrate that you know how to operate this heavy, dangerous piece of machinery and you're not going to hurt somebody?
Well, that's the argument that's how they try to really scramble everyone's minds around it. It's actually like a violation of due process. They're assuming that you're a danger before you're actually a danger. I mean, if we did that with everything, I mean, it's craziness. That's not the way the law works. And there's nothing wrong with certification. First of all, who would allow their children or their offspring to get into a car without knowing that they were properly trained anyway? Even putting your baby your children on a bike, you always have to oversee them while they're learning how to do it, or even riding a horse, I mean, the police powers cannot overcome constitutional rights. This is what they're doing. They're using the police powers as an excuse to violate people's rights. That's what they're doing. There's no delegation of authority to regulate people's day-to-day activities that they need to carry on with their lives. What the delegation of authority comes from over cars or motor vehicles, as they call them, comes from the Constitution's Commerce Clause under Article 1, Section 8, Clause 3. And that delegation of authority traveled through to the Interstate Commerce Act that was passed in February of 1887. And then in 1935, they put in place a Part 2, which was the Motor Carriers Act, which I previously mentioned. You will find the exclusion. And every state writes this exclusion into their motor vehicle code. It's just they write it in such a way that most people can't find it. But if you go to the latest New Hampshire legislature House Bill 507 that was done in 2019, you will see that they were trying to push for full transparency. And while it passed the House, it failed to pass the Senate, so they didn't pass it. I mean, there was no real reason for them to have to pass it because, as I said, the law in New Hampshire, as in every state, is actually written constitutionally correct, but they write it in such a way that the common man is unable to read what is actually being said.
That's very interesting. What legal steps have you taken thus far? Where are you now?
Well, I put the entire county of Greene in upstate New York on notice. I even filed into the public record that they were all involved in a seditious conspiracy to overthrow the Constitution and violate my rights. And I have yet to receive anyone trying to bring me up on charges of defamation of character, because I filed it into the public record and I sent them all a copy of it by certified mail. And I also sent emails to the entire Board of Commissioners of Greene County about what's going on. Not a peep out of anyone.
What was the specific municipality that you were this occurred in?
It was Cairo, or Cairo,
Right.
how you want to pronounce
Have
it.
you individually litigated against them, or?
No, that may have actually been a mistake, because they're actually supposed to give me a post-seizure hearing. That's part of the 14th Amendment. A state cannot just go seize private property and just, tell you, oh, have to pay us this or pay us that. They're actually supposed to give like I said, a post-seizure hearing where the owner of the private property has a right to challenge the propriety of the seizure, the propriety of them continuing to hold it, and also they have to explain how it is that you're supposed to recover that property.
It seems kind of strange to me that to involve a third party, because then they're acting like basically as an agent of the government, and how would that work anyway? Who do you actually owe this money to?
Well, that's just it. These impound agents, they actually are what you would call, in this instance, quasi-governmental, which means they are governmental. And also there's a maximum of law. I'm probably going to butcher it, but it basically goes, he who sends another to do a thing, it may as well have done the thing themselves. I mean, I'm not sure the exact maximum of law, but it is. So the fact that what's going on here is that the Greene County Sheriff's Office is actually hiding behind JR Transmissions to do the dirty work. That's actually what is going on here. But they're both liable because they're both violating my constitutional rights.
So it's like if a hitman if a woman hires a hitman to kill her husband, she's responsible for the act.
Absolutely, yes.
I get it.
And this actually goes all the way up the chain to the governor, because the governor is the chief executive officer, and it is the executive branch of government that is in charge of enforcing the laws. So what's actually going on here is you have the very agency that's supposed to be enforcing the law violating the law. How's that? I mean, what a mess.
I believe as you move up the chain, there's a doctrine of respondent superior that you have to show
Absolutely,
connection,
absolutely.
and that they had an opportunity to remedy the wrong, and that you provided them such a remedy.
Yeah, well, I gave them the opportunity. I gave absolutely. The governor of the state of New York was sent a letter informing her that her subordinate executive officers here in Greene County were violating their oath, and she did nothing. And if you go to Article 4, Section 3 of the New York State Constitution, there's a thing in there that says that she's responsible to faithfully execute the laws. Well, she's not faithfully executing them. Her subordinates certainly didn't.
I see. So you've filed a couple 42 U.S.C. 1983 lawsuits, is that correct?
Yes, two.
For those that don't know, this is for a violation of your civil rights.
Yes.
Under color of state
Under
law.
color of state law, yes. So they're basically violating my rights to acquire, hold, and use private property. That van that they took from me was private property. It doesn't become a motor vehicle until it's engaged in commercial activity of transportation. That's the subject matter over which they have the authority to regulate. but they don't have the authority to regulate private property. And that's what it is until it's used in commerce. Until then, it's not a motor vehicle or a vehicle, or at least it's not subject to transportation regulation until then.
And you're saying that it's the burden of proof is on the government to demonstrate that you are using it for a commercial purpose.
Absolutely, yes. And they know that, and that's why they dismissed the case, because they knew they would never be able to produce that. They have to. I was the only one in that van, so there were no passengers. There was the property in that was all mine. So I wasn't moving it for anyone else. I was not in transportation.
That's very interesting that they dismissed the case. To the layperson, that would seem like you're correct. So, therefore, to
I am
extrapolate on
correct.
that gives them the right to continue to hold your property.
They have no right. Every day that they go by, they're basically breaking the law every day that they continue to hold it. Every day they're in violation of their oaths of office. They committed perjury of oath, because the Motor Carrier Act of 1935 that gives the exclusion was made pursuant to the Constitution, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 3, which is, did I get that right? I believe, no, I'm sorry. The Supremacy Clause is what it's under. That's Article 1, Section 6, Clause 3. The laws and blah, blah, blah made pursuant to this Constitution shall be the supreme law of the land. So the Motor Carrier Act of 1935, which gives an exclusion, is the supreme law of the land, and every state must follow it, which is reflected in Section 125 of the New York State Vehicle and Traffic Law that I brought up, where they give the exclusion as well.
So you filed an original 83, correct me if I'm wrong, with multiple defendants,
Yes,
correct?
yes.
And then you modified it or filed another one with a single defendant?
No, what happened is, because I'm broke, I applied to go forma pauperis, which means that I would be able to go without paying the filing fee of $405, and instead of having to pay process servers to serve each one of the, I think I had about 13 defendants there. I think the cheapest I could find a process server was $75 per. So that would have been over around $1,000, which I didn't have. So if you go forma pauperis, not only is the filing fee covered, but also the U.S. Marshals will do the service of process instead of you having to go and hire it out. Of course, I could have always tried to find someone.
Did the marshals actually serve the defendants?
No, because currently whenever you go forma pauperis, the magistrate judge that's assigned to the case has to look through the paperwork to make sure that it's he feels that it has a chance of going any further. If they don't believe that there's a valid case,
it's not frivolous. Yeah.
Right, they wouldn't want to waste the marshal's time. That would be a waste of resources. So currently, that one, the magistrate did send back a big thick packet of all this stuff arguing against the my case and blah blah blah. But I sent him a memorandum of law. Right now, he's in receipt of that. I'm not sure exactly how he's going to handle it from here on out. But also, I filed against the governor when it took so long for me to receive the forma pauperis status, and that case is under. I filed a subject matter jurisdiction challenge in that. Now I also put the judge on notice through judicial notice of the Motor Carrier Act of 1935 and the exclusion that's in Section 125 of the New York State Vehicle and Traffic Law. Those things I only found out probably in the last 6 months. It's amazing how much information you will find. I mean, I knew there was a right to travel, but I didn't really know, I didn't know the depth of it that I know now. I mean, if you go on YouTube, you see all these people getting pulled over, their windows shattered, and even story of one young man in Utah who was shot to death over a tail light, and it's just craziness. But a lot of that stuff, that right to travel stuff, is really discredits the movement. A lot of it is it's actually worse than the concealment that outright concealment that the government's doing. They talk about all this stuff about, oh, you have to turn your plates in or turn your license in, or you're a contractor, you can't use a social security number, or you can't be a U.S. citizen. All that stuff is a bunch of hoi malloy. The fact is, even a U.S. citizen has a right to travel without license, tags, insurance, and all that stuff. I mean,
Well, I'm not going to personally advocate for people to drive around without licenses, but it certainly seems to me that you're legally correct.
There's no doubt. I know I'm good.
This-
Why would they dismiss it?
Exactly. So this individual suit against Kathy Hochul, is it an amendment to the original 83 or a separate suit?
It's a separate suit, but it's related. That's one thing that when I filed,
Because they give you one opportunity to amend.
well, I didn't amend it because to amend would be I would still have to add everybody in and serve them. So I only
There's only one defendant.
right, but how do you?
The circumstances just, but that'd be like one shot. You'd be swinging for a home run, though.
Yeah, well, that's why I went with her
Right.
because I actually paid the filing fee there because it's $405. I could afford that, and I only had to serve her. Unfortunately, the first attempt at serving her was through somebody I found online. They charged me $75. I tried to serve her at her office in New York City. That failed. And when you know it, the process server that I finally served her with was right across the street from the district court, from the federal district court. And they only charged me $40. So
There you go.
I had to pay $115 where I could have paid $40, but it got done. But yeah,
So Lee, we both know that we don't live in a perfect world, but if we did, what would the resolution of all this be?
Well, first of all, I think they should stop stealing money from the people that's not owed to the states. That's basically what they're doing. I mean, it's actually a piddling amount. I mean, you think, how often do you have to pay for renew your driver's license? Like every 2 or 3 years, and it depends on the state. Maybe 6 years. I don't know, but each shot it might be what, 40, 50, maybe $60. It's not really that much money, but when you come across with all the other things, I mean, but it does add up. If you've got millions of people in the state,
Cumulatively, it's an enormous amount of
oh,
money.
it's an enormous amount of money. And if you think about it, that's money that they're pulling out of people's pockets that could be circulating around in the general population for us to generate work for ourselves. But when that money gets pulled out and funneled into the government, I mean, no one really knows where that goes. And then you have the insurance, which is even more. Most people pay monthly for that, at least $100 a month. Imagine if a family had that $100 or $1,200 in their pocket to feed their babies, to pay their rent, or to buy things. How much that pulls out? Because that is a migration of the money from the common general population up the chain to an elite corporate structure. The insurance companies, that's where that money goes.
Lee, what would you say to somebody who was injured by an individual under this perfect solution of yours that wasn't insured? What recourse would they have?
Well, I'm not saying that I'm against insurance. Okay, there's nothing wrong, but my real problem with the insurance, not only are they sucking money out of the population, I mean, because some people might not be able to afford it. But then if they can't afford the insurance, that means that they have to take the risk to go to work, which they need to feed themselves, and get in trouble. It's just a big downhill battle for someone in a certain position. They're slapped down before they even have a chance to get up. But that's another tangent. That's another argument. But let me finish. Getting back to the whole thing about how the insurance is applied now. It's actually a form of fascism. I mean, fascism by Mussolini was described as corporate in league with the government to screw over the common man. And that's what you've got here. You've got these big insurance companies, corporations, using the government who send out agents with guns to force you to buy their services and products. That's a great business model. I wish I could have a business like that. I mean, why can't we have it to where you don't have to have a driver's license or registration or whatnot in order to get auto insurance? I mean, most people would still buy it. I mean, for those that don't buy it, you just pay the additional for the uninsured driver in case an uninsured driver hits you. I mean, in the end, it's about, you can't accuse someone of a crime or make them pay for a crime before they've committed the crime because you think they're going to commit the crime. It's just totally, that's not due process. And once they commit the crime, well, if they can't pay, at that point, then the government steps in and say, well, look, you can't be on the road. You did such and such damage and you weren't able to pay. Now you got to go do jail time or whatever. It's just like if you commit murder. Does everyone have to have insurance in case they commit?
People do commit murder.
I know, but do they?
I believe in New York State, to register a motor vehicle, you have to have proof of insurance first, also. Yes.
Yeah, well, it's all.
Yeah, you have to actually be insured for them to register the car.
It's all scumbaggery anyway,
Right.
as far as I'm concerned. You should be able to buy your. This is under the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The pursuit of happiness is the right. Pursuit of happiness covers a broad area, but one of those is the ability to acquire, hold, and use material goods. A car or an automobile is material goods, and you have the right to use those without another man telling you how to use it, so long as you're not harming that man's his rights. Until you do, people should have nothing to say to you.
This is very informative and very interesting, Lee. Do you have any contact information with people that want to look more into this? Or?
Yeah, I'm actually intending to put up a YouTube channel called Operation Right to Travel, where I'm going to completely break everything down and show where the delegation of authority comes from, that the government has the right to regulate transportation, but they don't have the right to regulate private personal activities. That's what I want to do. I want to make this very transparent for people, because most of the gurus over this stuff are just misleading people. As I said already, they're actually worse than the government's attempts at covering it up. They just confuse everybody and have everyone running around in a circle chasing their tail, to where some people say, I'm just gonna pay and be done with it, and because it's so confusing and it's just too much. And it's been a long journey for me.
Yes, this has consumed quite a big portion of your life for the last year and change.
Yeah, well, this is about liberty. This is about freedom. This is what America's supposed. What's going on the roads right now? This is not what America was meant to be. This is right here is fascism. It's tyranny. I mean, these people are outright perjuring their oaths of office. I don't care how you look at it. That's what they're doing. When they don't, when an officer pulls you over and he doesn't first investigate if you're in transportation, and he starts making presumptions on his paperwork, this is legislative overreach. This is tyranny. This is not right.
So I don't normally ask questions that I know the answer to. So you would say that you don't regret this. You would do it all over again.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, because this is what I believe I was born for this.
Wow.
My fifth great grandfather. Yeah, I know I look like, I'm most people perceive me to be Asian, but I'm actually mixed. I'm Asian, African American, and Irish. And my Irish fifth grandfather, James Sullivan, fought in the Revolutionary War. And I don't think he would appreciate what they're doing to his fifth, or would I be the sixth great grandson, whatever. I don't think he'd appreciate his descendants being treated like this. But this all goes back to another story that we could have about, we didn't really win the Revolutionary War. It was all a hoax.
Well,
But
we'll
that's
we'll
another
have to leave
story.
that for another time, Lee.
Yeah.
But God bless you and good luck to you. I'm just gonna say goodbye to my listeners now, and I hope to see you
Okay.
again soon.
Sure.